Taxes. They are not fun, but they are a very important part of e-commerce because you need to be collecting sales tax for different orders, and you'll also have taxes that you need to pay to your own government. So in this video, we are going to go over the different taxes for small businesses and how to make sure that you are staying within the law for all of that and paying on time. Okay, so since we are talking about taxes, let's start out with a huge disclaimer for this video that I am not a tax accountant. I am not a CPA. I have no certification for talking about taxes. I am just talking as an e-commerce entrepreneur and a small business owner myself, and I have been paying taxes for over 11 years for my small business. So I'm talking from my perspective here. So make sure that you still contact a tax accountant in your area and you verify everything with them to make sure that everything is set up correctly and that you are paying your taxes correctly. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, I want to talk about the different types of taxes that you have to pay whenever you're doing an e-commerce store. So first off, you do have sales tax that you need to collect. And this is going to be depending on where your location is and what country. So I'm going to have this video talking specifically about the US. So it's going to be different depending on the country that you're in or that you're selling in. However, in the US, you need to be collecting sales tax anytime you have a physical location in a state. So that could be that your office is in one state and your fulfillment center is in another state. You would need to be collecting sales tax in both of those states because you then technically have a physical presence in both states. You also have to do sales tax collections based off of an economic nexus. So there are different requirements for different states based on if you have so many transactions in a state or if you have a certain dollar amount that you have sold online in a state. So this can get a little bit confusing. So we'll go over the best way to do that in just a minute. But this is a newer tax thing that has been added in the last few years that you want to make sure if you're doing a higher volume of e-commerce sales online that you're being really mindful of. So first off, when you're setting up charging sales tax by a physical store location, you can do this inside of the Shopify backend. So you would just go to settings and then taxes, and you can add in your tax location there. So you would add in your zip code. So it'll add in the correct tax information based on the state that your physical location is in. So this is an important one to make sure that you have set up so that it's just calculating taxes overall based on the physical location. But as I mentioned before, you also need to keep in mind the economic nexus. So this is different for each individual state, which can be a little frustrating since the US has so many states to keep up with. And Shopify really isn't set up for going through and keeping track of all this information. Plus, Shopify does not file any taxes for you. It's just charging the customer, and it is on you and your responsibility to make sure that you are setting aside that money for taxes and paying that correctly to each individual state. So for this, I really recommend a third-party app called TaxJar. So TaxJar lets you actually see the economic nexus, so you can see how much you are getting close to that of needing to collect sales tax in particular states. So it'll keep track of how many transactions you've had in a state, how much revenue you've brought in a state. So it's really helpful for keeping track of all of that information so that you don't have to have a huge spreadsheet that you're constantly updating with every new order. Also with the TaxJar app, they do automatically file taxes for you once you've got that set up. So once you have registered that you need to file sales tax in a state, you can then put all that information into TaxJar and get that set up so it's a lot easier for you, especially if you end up having to file taxes in a lot of states based on your online orders and revenue. So I definitely recommend taking a look at TaxJar if you are expecting a high volume of orders and you are expecting to have more things that you're qualifying for in terms of different states that you're needing to pay taxes on. I'll put a link to it in the description below, but definitely an app to check out. So that's just the sales tax portion of it all, though. You as an individual will have to pay taxes on any income that you have received from your business. So this is going to depend a lot based on how you have your business set up. If you are set up as a sole proprietor, so as an individual, if you are an LLC, a single member LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp, however you have set up your business entity, that really depends on how the taxes that you are having to pay are structured out. So I'm not going to get into all of that. Again, make sure to reach out to a tax accountant and make sure that you're paying the correct taxes for you. But overall, you need to pay taxes on any income that you have received from the business. So you can write off things like expenses, so your cost of goods of any kind of cost of actually shipping out or fulfilling the product itself, of the shipping cost, any marketing costs like paid advertising, or if you've hired independent contractors to do designs for you, you can deduct all of those as expenses from the business account, and you don't have to pay any taxes on that income that is there. Also, any income that you leave inside of the business for future months of running expenses, you don't have to pay any income tax on that as well. It's just the money that you're taking out personally as profit from the business. And again, that does vary really wildly based on the entity structure that you have set up for your business. So overall, you just want to make sure that you are reaching out to a tax professional in your area and that you have everything set up. The last thing that you want is to be hit with a huge tax bill that you weren't expecting and you don't have the money set aside for. That one's going to hurt really bad, and it's going to hamper your business growth if you're then having to take additional money from the business or from your own personal accounts to pay off taxes that you hadn't prepared to pay for. So you want to just make sure that you're thinking ahead and setting aside whatever money that you're collecting for taxes, whether it be sales tax or income tax that you're going to pay personally. So I hope this video was helpful for you in deciphering a little bit more about the different taxes that you have to pay for a small business and for e-commerce stores. We've got a couple more videos over here all about growth strategies, so how to actually grow your Shopify store for 2021. And if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button below. We post videos every week all about Shopify and how to grow your online store.